What is going on, Diablo 2 fans? Dobrunsky here, and today's build video is going to be centered around a super solid budget Frenzy Barbarian. Yes, you heard me correctly, you can build a very powerful budget geared Frenzy Barb that can clear every single area in the game, and I do think that, even though I'm a little bit biased, this gear is super solid and probably the best combination of budget that you can get, so do hope you guys enjoy this video. Again, a quick reminder before we jump in, just want to let you guys know that I do stream twice a week on Twitch, so if you really do enjoy this YouTube content, any follows on that platform would be very much appreciated. Got the link for my channel in the description below. With that being said, let's jump in. So the first thing to take a look at is the attribute distribution. Now this is a level 94 Barbarian, so I know the very first thing that you guys are going to say is, how is that a budget setup? You're almost level 99. Well, I invested my attribute points to simulate a level 84 character. So that's why that you can see 50 stat points remaining to invest. I just feel like level 84 is kind of around the area of a lower end budget oriented build, but the attribute distribution is basically a max vitality build. So I have enough strength to equip my gear, which is 140. There is some plus strength on my gear, which again we'll cover in a little bit, but I have 1,000 to 3,000 frenzy damage on the main hand, and then 898 to 2,600 on the other hand, again depending on the roll of the rumors that I'm using. Then I have berserk damage of 827 to 2,443. Dexterity, again just enough to equip my gear, which is 125. And I have a pretty solid attack rating, like almost 10,000 attack rating for no inventory, like I have no charms whatsoever. So again, a very practical and solid budget character. And then I have nothing in energy, and then everything else into vitality for 1,402 life prior to my buff up with battle orders. The res split is 34 fire, 14 cold, negative 16 lightning, and negative 16 poison. So that is a little bit low for the res split, but when I do proc fade from the body armor that I'm using, I have capped cold, capped fire, and then I think around 50 lightning and 50 poison. So pretty solid overall for a budget character. And then quickly taking a look at the advanced stats tab, I have dual leech, so 5 life, 6 mana leech, 115% increased attack speed, 30% faster run walk, and then 10% open wounds and 50% crushing blow and 30% deadly strike. So good chance of doing double damage, good crushing blow for bosses, and then 10% chance of open wounds. Pretty good for very, very low tier gear. So moving on to the skill tree, the first thing that I want to mention is that I don't have any additional plus skill gear, so that's why when I mention one hard point, you see a white number 1 and don't have like a level 15 blue number, whatever. That's additional plus skill gear, and I think that's confused a lot of people that have referenced my different build videos I have on my channel, so just want to make that very clear. But first, taking a look at the Warcry skill tree, I have 1 hard point into Howl, 1 hard point into Shout, then a completely maxed battle orders, and then I have 1 hard point into Battle Command. Pretty standard setup for Frenzy Barb, with the only difference between a budget Frenzy Barb and top tier gear is that typically you'll see a lot of points put into Taunt, because Taunt is a damage synergy for Frenzy. Moving on to the combat skill tree, I have 1 hard point into increased stamina, 1 hard point increased speed, Iron Skin, and then I put 10 hard points into natural resistance. The additional plus res that I get with this setup is very important because I'm again a budget build. Usually with a lot of plus skill gear, you'll only put 1 hard point for an endgame setup, but getting that additional 54 all res versus I think 1 hard point is 12, it's a pretty big difference when my res is already in the negatives. So definitely think it's important to put at least 10 hard points into that skill. It does suffer from diminishing returns, like you see the next skill point, I'm only getting +2 to all res, so I don't think anything more than 10, if you're going to invest substantial points, is worth it. And then finally, I completely max out Axe Mastery because the weapons that I'm using with the setup are from the Axe class, so this does give me some additional deadly strike, damage, and attack rating, which does help out a lot. And then finally, for the combat skill tree, I have 1 hard point into Bash, Stun, Concentrate, and Berserk. Now this is a very important skill to talk about because it is magic damage. It's great for physical immune monsters, so you definitely, with practically any Barbarian setup, you want to have at least 1 hard point into Berserk. And then I put 1 into Double Swing, 1 into Taunt to unlock Frenzy, completely maxed Frenzy, and then at that point I continue to put additional points into Double Swing because it is a synergy for Frenzy. And then again, if you had more skills like your higher level, not trying to simulate level 84, once Double Swing is maxed, typically you'll put more points into Taunt because it is a synergy for Frenzy. So finally, moving on to the gear, which is probably the most exciting part of the video for you guys. I do really think this is kind of well thought out and covers all of the areas in terms of leech, attack rating, and raw damage with crushing blow and deadly strike. But again, let me know in the comment section below if you guys agree or disagree. The only sort of questionable budget piece of gear here is the weapons. So I went with dual Oath in Ethereal Berserker Axes. Now, Oath is a relatively cheap rune word, so Shale, Pull, Mal, and Lum with the Indestructible mod, tons of ED, enhanced damage to demons. It's a great weapon, lots of increased attack speed as well. Suits the Frenzy Barbarian a lot. Now, the only thing you guys might question is the choice of base that I used. I will agree that it is somewhat challenging to get a 4-open socket Berserker Axe, but there's definitely other bases that you can use that are a little bit easier to get 4-open sockets, like the Cryptic Sword, for example. I just wanted to demonstrate this base. If you find any Ethereal Cryptic Sword, you go to Larzik, it will give you a guaranteed 4-open sockets. So then again, putting Shale, Pull, Mal, and Lum. I believe this rune word works in swords and axes and maces, so it definitely works in axes and swords. I'm pretty sure maces, but just double check, let me know in the comment section below. But you're definitely not restricted to using something like a Berserker Axe. But the rest of the gear, I'm using G-Face, Treachery, so great body armor, increased attack speed, fast rate recovery, and the chance to cast Fade when struck and Venom on striking, so that's a pretty powerful additional stat to the Barbarian. Then I have the Trang's Belt for Cannot Be Frozen. This might be questionable. Why aren't you using Ravenfrost? Well, I'm not, because I'm using dual Angelics. So I get plus 1,120 to attack rating based on character level. Very, very solid for a melee character. And then the other ring is just a dual each ring. Garbage, dual each rear ring. You could go Ravenfrost and maybe String of Years, but with that setup, you wouldn't have Mana Leech. So you could pot. Mana Leech isn't necessarily mandatory, but String of Years, Great Belt, DR, and Life Leech. But I do get DR from Treachery, so I think this is a better combo. And then gloves, laying hands, and then boots are Gore Rider boots. And then in the offhand, I have 2 +3 to Warcry magic sticks here, so that gives me +6 to Battlers on the offhand. So again, I think solid overall damage and pretty well thought out build. But again, let me know in the comment section below if you guys would tweak this gear at all. And then lastly, taking a look at the Mercenary. This is an Act 2 Nightmare Offensive Mercenary for the Might Aura. That's a substantial boost of damage to the Barbarian. And then for the rest of his gear, he's using a non-ethereal Reaper's Toll with no sockets. This gives the Mercenary Life Leech and chance to cast Decrepify on striking, which will significantly boost the physical damage output of the Frenzy Barb, so it's a great combination to pair with this Barbarian setup. And then I have Treachery for the body armor, and then a plain G-Face for the helmet. So again, Crushing Blow, Deadly Strike, Decrep proc. When he does proc Fade, he has damage reduction. This is a very tanky Mercenary that has a lot of additional plus life once I've buffed him up with Battle Orders. So a super viable setup, and it really just pairs well in general to the build. So finally, let's wrap everything up with the Chaos Sanctuary run. Now again, the clear speed of this build is not going to be insane, but you'll definitely see that it's viable. And the only area that it really struggles with is dealing with a lot of the undead in the Chaos Sanctuary. That's because you can't leech back life or mana from them, so you will kind of see me circle in and out with a lot of the undead. You do have to be a little bit careful with this ace, but you'll see that when I buff up with my bow sticks on the offhand, I jump up to 3,000 life. Mercenary jumps up to 4,500 life. So the Mercenary is actually stronger than I am. Now the cool thing about Frenzy is I can just hold right-click down and then hover over monsters. You don't actually have to actively click it. I don't know if you know that, but so if I was actively clicking on each monster, and it stopped, right? But if you click on Frenzy, like just on like the ground, hold it, and then hover over monsters, you can just keep it actively like attacking. Very kind of chilled, laid-back character. Again, I've never tried this build on controller, but let me know if it just plays like garbage on controller, but I could see it being a pretty decent build for that. And you can definitely see that I don't have like Mach 1 clear speed, but it can definitely hold my own. Really need that Mercenary to try and stay tight with me to proc Decrep. But the River of Flame, he's kind of just doing his own thing, getting stuck behind corridors. But again, I just would love to see in the future Mercenary AI tighten up a little bit. Would be really nice. Now, so you don't actually, I can't actively leech back from these undead, which makes things a little bit annoying, but I don't think I've Oh, there. Okay, I got Fade proc now, so I have decent res split. Plot up a little bit. Now, another thing to note about this build, too, is I don't have a single point invested, or excuse me, I don't have a single charm in the inventory, I mean. Not to point invested, I don't know why I was saying that. But I don't have anything in the inventory in terms of charms, so you could add additional plus life and res with small charms, large charms, kind of decent max damage attack rating stuff. But again, I really wanted to make a very budget-oriented setup. Just kind of have to deke in and out a little bit. I kind of shut off that loot always showing sometimes. It can be a little bit much when you don't have a loot filter. It's something I would love to see implemented. We'll buff up again. I don't think the mercenaries actually had a close call yet. Maybe we'll have one here against Infector. Let's pray for not a Conviction Infector. That would not be good. Try and pull the mercenary back. We'll head in. So again, not Mach speed, but not horrible either. The Sace will be the tricky one that we gotta watch out for. And I'm pretty sure I have close to 82% chance to hit, so that's not too bad either, considering how, like, budget this stuff is. I'm gonna try and separate the Sace from his minions if I can. Yeah, try and get rid of the... Oh, we lost our Merc. Try and get rid of that Fanaticism aura. Okay, now I don't think I have... Try and pick up a TP scroll, then go back to town and res him. Oh, may not have one. That's okay. There we go. TP scroll. Back to town. We'll get the Merc. Get him buffed up. Okay, final seal boss. Snipe Vizier. Okay, let's go Diablo. Oh, I got amp damage. That's probably not a good idea. Let's go erase a curse. Oh, wait, what am I doing? Gotta talk to Jamala. Don't imprison me. Boom. So there you have it. Diablo dead with what I genuinely think is a very budget setup. Like, all of these items, minus, I guess, 2 Mal runes, 2 Pull runes for the Oath rune word, and then again, the base is not the easiest to get 4 open sockets, but there's a lot of easier bases that give you guaranteed 4 open sockets, like this Cryptic Sword. So I think overall, super budget and pretty viable. Like, you can clear any area in the game with this setup. So that concludes my budget barbarian build. Again, let me know in the comment section below what you guys would like to see for the next budget build. I do plan on releasing a lot of more budget-oriented setups, as well as endgame gear, so just let me know. Other than that, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you could throw a like on it, share it, and even consider subscribing if you're new to my channel. I post new weekly content on YouTube, and I do stream twice a week on Twitch. So any follows on Twitch or subs on YouTube would be amazing. Other than that, guys, hope you have a fan-frickin-tastic day, and I'll catch you on my next video or live stream. Peace out.